Hey guys, Spudd here, and today's video is one that was actually meant to be made about 8 months ago. I'm going to be building what was at the time my brand new PC and showing you how I did it. I know this one's very overdue, so let's crack on. Before we get on to the new build, let's rewind back to what I was using before. As you can see, this was an almost all-white build but with a black motherboard. It was running an i7-9700K Z390A motherboard, RTX 3080 and 32GB of DDR4 RAM. We also had the Lian Li Strimmer Plus V1 cables, Unifan SL120 V1s and the O11 dynamic case. Some parts of this build such as the GPU and RAM moved into the new PC, but the rest was all brand new, so let's take a look at those parts. Okay, so here's all of the new gear that will be making up the rest of this PC build. Starting off, I'm going to be upgrading to the Lian Li O11D Evo case, and this is basically a newer upgraded version of the O11 dynamic I'm already using. Next up is the CPU, and I've gone with this i7-12700K, which is a nice step up from the 9700K. And I'm going to be pairing it with this white ROG Strix B660A motherboard so we can finally have that all-white PC build. And in case anyone's wondering why I'm using an unlocked CPU with a locked motherboard, these parts were actually provided by my friends at Viral Tech, and I have no intention of overclocking this PC build anyway. Next up, we have the Lian Li Strimmer Plus V2 cables, which are an upgraded version of the cables that I already use, and the Unifan SL Infinity case fans, which again are a similar newer version of the fans I already have. And then finally, we have this spray paint, which I'm going to use for my vertical GPU bracket so we can absolutely nail that all-white PC aesthetic. So now that's all the parts sorted, let's get cracking on the good stuff. Okay, first we need to put together the motherboard assembly, so let's get this beautiful ROG B660A out of the box. First thing I'm going to install is this Intel i7-12700K CPU, so we need to open up the socket and then carefully lower the CPU into place, taking care not to bend any of the pins. Next we can install these 4 sticks of Corsair DDR4 RAM, making sure that they're fully clipped into place. For storage, I'm going to be using the same M.2 drive from my old PC build, so let's get that into place next. And then for extra storage, I'm actually adding 2 more 1TB M.2s to this build because as a content creator, I run out of space way too quickly. Now we've just got time for a quick and satisfying peel. And with the motherboard assembly all put together, it's time to put it into the case. As you can see, I've already installed the PSU into the back of the case, so now what I need to do is secure the motherboard into place. The motherboard is all screwed in, so now let's add the CPU, cooler and radiator. I'm going to be side mounting my radiator like I did in the old PC. And what's cool about the Evo case is this panel is actually fully removable, which makes it so much easier for mounting. So let's drop that onto the radiator and then add our cooling fans. And then we can simply click this back into the case and we're all ready to go. Next, let's screw in the standoffs from the pump and add some thermal paste to the CPU. Then we can drop the pump into place and carefully secure it using the thumb screws. I also have this white pump cover from Viral Tech so we can match the aesthetic of the AIO to the rest of the build. Now we just need to plug in the cables and the cooler is all ready to go. I've gone ahead and connected up all of the front panel connectors from the case. So now the next thing we need to do is add the rest of the fans into the top and bottom. Again, to make building super easy, Lian Li has installed removable brackets into both the bottom and top of the case. So now we can take these SL Infinity case fans and drop them onto the brackets and then carefully slot each bracket back into the case instead of having to go through and individually screwing in every single fan. With all the fans in place, the case is looking really good, and the only thing that's really missing now is the GPU. And that means it's time to reinstall my beautiful ROG Strix 3080. To do that, I'm going to need my vertical bracket, which you can see I've spray painted white to match the rest of the build. In order to fit the bracket, I need to unscrew and remove some of these slots in the back of the case. And now I can slot in the bracket. Unfortunately, I noticed the thumb screws from this case aren't quite long enough to secure the bracket in, so I had to use the ones from the old case. Now we just need to reattach and plug in the PCIe riser cable. And then finally, I can bring in the GPU and slot it carefully into the bracket, making sure that it is properly clicked into place. Then we can add these Lian Li Strimmer Plus V2 cables to help power it.
And as you can see, we now have the Strimmer Plus cables installed and everything in the PC case is now ready to go. And one extra thing that I've just had to do is install an extra USB hub to the build. And this is because I didn't have enough USB slots to power the Strimmer Plus cables, all of the Lian Li Unifans, and my cooler. But now that that's installed and everything is plugged in, we should basically be ready to try and boot this PC up. So now for the moment of truth, and as you can see, it boots perfectly. Also, I thought at the time, as you can see from these shots, the GPU is no longer mounted vertically, and the reason for that is that the PCIe riser cable had actually failed, so I couldn't use it. But after plugging it back directly into the motherboard, everything works fine, and the rest of the PC looks absolutely stunning and runs beautifully smoothly. Now, skipping ahead 9 months, you can see I've made a few changes to what the build looks like, including installing this 7-inch monitor into the back of the PC, and I've also switched out the SL Infinity fans for the SL120 V2s. And thanks to a new riser cable, as you can see, the GPU is back vertically mounted. Overall, I am incredibly happy with the way this build turned out, and I really hope you guys enjoyed watching the build process with me today. If you did enjoy the video, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up as it really helps support the channel, and if you have any questions or thoughts, make sure to drop those down in the comments. And make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you're ready for when any of my future videos come out. Thank you so much for watching and your continued support, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Oh, you shouting? You trying to say hello to everybody? Did that come down the mic?